Business is for soldiers only. One thing I remember, I used to work for a marketing company when I was 20 years old in East Melbourne. And I was really excited. I was able to go out of the house and go to this cool little office. And it was a team of about 4 or 5 people. And then I think the owner had the rest of everyone else, like offshore, like virtual assistants and stuff. And it was an SEO focused agency. And it was owned by this small Eastern European guy who was in his 40s, who had a lot of experience with SEO. So I get hired for the job as basically a salesperson / account manager, but I was only working part-time. And it was a really cool experience. I learned about SEO because I didn't really understand SEO at that point. And I'd spent about a year and a half running my own agency on the side. So I get this job and I'm learning how to pitch SEO and how to do keyword research. Keyword research is the keywords that are going to rank on the first page of Google. And this owner, I was nearly going to say his name, but this owner, let's just say James. I could tell that he was, and I'd read a lot of books by this point, because I'd read Robert Greene, and I'd read over 70 books probably by this point cumulatively in my life at 20, 21 years old. And I was like, this guy's manipulative, not in like a bad way, but like he's just very, like a warlord, right? And I just wasn't used to that kind of personality, having access to that kind of person. Because, you know, I'd grown up in a different environment, right? My parents are not entrepreneurs by any means. They're quite risk averse. And there's nothing wrong with that, it's just what it is. So I'm cold calling, I'm a bit nervous because I'm cold calling and everyone can hear me calling on the phone. And I was used to making cold calls privately, like in my own room or whatever. And he's giving feedback and he's giving me and the other sales guy who just started a week before me feedback as well, or a month before me. And I didn't like that guy, but that's a different story. But anyway, so we're learning from him. And basically it got to the point where after about 3 weeks, me and him didn't close any deals yet. And at one point, this CEO is like, come on guys, you're 3 young guys on the phones, let's get a deal and that kind of thing. I was like, oh, okay, that was a bit more aggressive. One particular day, I made 47 calls and I thought that the input was correlative to the output. And that's one thing I did get right when I was 20, 21. But he demonized me for it. And he actually rewarded the other guy saying, well done, you at least got an appointment on the board. You know, you didn't have to make 47 calls to do it. And I was like, this guy fucking just dissed me for making 47 calls trying to grow his business, instead of saying, all right, like the effort maybe was displaced and we need to find more concentrated ways of using the effort. But instead he's like, you didn't have to do 47 calls. He just directly disrespects me in front of the whole office and everyone can hear it. So the cool thing was, again, I had good control of my emotions. I didn't react, I just took it in. I was like, okay, noted, this is interesting. I'll remember this. Anyway, I ended up getting fired from this job. I don't end up closing any deals. I get sick about a week before he ends up firing me. And I didn't close any deals, is what it is. But what I learned from this guy, and one thing he mentioned to me over a team dinner we had, or a team lunch, I think it was a dinner, at a really nice Asian restaurant, was he's like, look, I see that you're running your own thing. What's your goals? And he was trying to learn more about me before he fired me. And, you know, I told him, look, I want to run my own thing. This is my experience. And he's like, you know, in this game, you got to be like a wolf. And I knew what he meant, but again, like I wanted to never outshine the master, right? So real G's know what I'm talking about. So I let him kind of explain what he meant by that. And he's like, you know, you got to be a wolf. You got to be aware. Don't always have to say a lot, but you got to be aware, switched on. And he would use his head a lot, again, like a general. So what should you guys take from this story? Business is fighting for scarce resources, financial, power, status. So you need to treat this like a sport. For me, this morning, I did my run/jog. I hit the gym, listened to a bit of hype music in the morning, read some of my book via audiobook, did my Slack, and then after this, I'm gonna hit the phones really hard, generate some appointments, hopefully close 2 or 3 deals today. And then, you know, enjoy the evening and then do it again tomorrow. Saturday, same thing, right? This is a war. And if you treat it as such, you will be more assertive and aggressive in a way that's going to reward your team and your company. But if you treat this as just like, I want to make 5K a month, I want to make 100K a month, I want to be a millionaire just because you want to live a certain life, you have to understand everyone wants the same thing. But you're competing with people that have reached a level of competence and psychological strength that when they see you enter the market as like fresh food or a little guppy in the sea, they want to eat you quickly. And they want to make life hard for you. And it might not be It might be with a smile on the face. They might be smiling to your face saying, yeah, congrats on your business. I'm in the same industry. Like, I can't wait to see you grow. Some people mean that, a lot don't. They want to smoke you, right? So you got to be able to look at things not at face value, but kind of 2 or 3 layers deep. And you got to also be wary of the access people get to you, especially business people, because especially if they're veterans and they have 10, 15, 5 years plus in an industry and they're making some money, they know what works and they're savages, especially if they're good at what they do and they have a big company. And for me, one thing that's helped me grow, especially as I've gotten older, is just being better at identifying the wolves in sheep clothing and the sheep in wolves clothing. Because the better that discernment gets, I wouldn't say the easier the game gets, but just the better you're able to see who you want to add to your army and the armies you want to be a part of, instead of just kind of being excited at the new startup or business venture that looks good on paper, but you don't really understand the psychological makeup of that CEO or of that entrepreneur. And a lot of people read these things like, oh, like 1 out of 3 CEOs have narcissism, or 1 out of 3 CEOs are psychopaths. Yes, there's truth in some of these statistics, but at the end of the day, just take it to a primal level. A lot of things can be, when people become idealistic, is when they think their ideals should supersede their biology. If you look at people through a primal lens, it's a lot easier for you to understand them and for you to understand yourself. And if you caught what I've just said right there, you'll be surprised how much more obvious things are before they happen. And you'll be surprised what you can make of that, because a lot of people aren't able to truly look at things from a primal lens, but rather through a highly emotional, a highly idealistic, they ought to, they should, their character. For me, I'm like, hey, this client said they were going to sign up, they didn't sign up. It's probably because they don't have money and they don't have resources and they want to allocate it to their family. Or this client that signed a 6-month contract is trying to quit after a month. Yeah, it's probably because they are behind on bills. I need to find a solution, pre-framing their thing as, hey, listen, you signed this thing, so we have a commitment. However, if cash flow is tight, you see why I didn't say like, you ought to do this because we signed, no. Look, we have a commitment together and I know that you're a man of character, but if cash flow is an issue, this is where I address the primal thing, then we can just split the monthly payments into weekly. I had to do that literally like 4 weeks ago, right? So like, and she tried to act like I don't remember signing a contract. I was like, what the, like, this is crazy. Like, she's lying. And then I spoke to her at a primal level, and now she's still paying us. It was just weekly payments because you can't afford monthly. So like, yeah, guys, you got to look at people at a primal level, and it will make your decisions a lot more intentional, and you'll be able to stay in this war game a lot longer. Good luck out there, my soldiers.